Hey guys, welcome once again to 40K Amateur Hour. It's Chad here. Today we're going to talk about some kit bashing, some changing, some fixing things and making them better, and particularly how you can create one of these. This is a Destroyerer Tank Hunter. It's a Forge World model, but this isn't a Forge World model, and I didn't pay Forge World prices. And the cool thing is if I want to do something else with it, it's also a Thunder Siege tank. So, watch, learn some more.
So first, for a little inspiration, let's look at this Forge World Storm Sword I built a while back. Really love this model. I love tanks that have stationary turrets, and this is one of my favorites. So here it is with the Storm Sword variant, short barrel, grading eating up troops, good for hitting buildings, not quite a Titan killer, so I had to make some changes there. So I took some leftover Storm Sword barrel pieces, combined them with some other bits out of the bits box, magnetized it all up, and made it where I can switch the two barrels out, so I can use this tank chassis for getting rid of troops or getting rid of Titans. This is a half-track conversion I did for Rico. He bought the Tarox, but didn't really like the tracks in the front, so he had me convert it over to wheels. I think it looks a lot better this way. I was also going to show you another conversion from a old school Whirlwind to a Damocles Command Rhino, but unfortunately I traded that tank off last weekend, so now we'll go right into the meat and potatoes of what we're doing today. This is the Thunder Siege tank, which also is very close to the Destroyerer Tank Hunter, and I'm going to show you how to take a basic Lehman Russ chassis and convert it to this. So once we get the finished model together as a Thunder Siege tank, you're pretty much just taking the original Lehman Russ tank barrel and putting it in backwards to create the Destroyerer Tank Hunter. So here's our starting components. On the left you see we have the old school Space Marine Vindicator. On the right side there we have the Lehman Russ hull partially assembled. And if you compare the two, you'll realize that the width of the Vindicator is much greater than the width of the Lehman Russ. And it's also a bit taller too. The cannon assembly you see down there, I did a lot of grinding on that. That's a piece of metal actually, so it popped off the old model pretty easy, but I spent a lot of time whittling it down to size. I used a bench grinder for this and just worked very carefully. I'm really not sure what all metals they put in these old Space Marine tanks. Probably some lead and some mercury and something else you don't want to breathe, so take appropriate precautions when you're doing that, and don't stick your fingers in the grinding wheel. So after getting it cut down, I glued it to the front of the hull. As you can see, the metal piece hung down just a bit past the edge of the plastic, but I couldn't grind any more off without taking out important details. So I just cut a few pieces of sprue and glued them underneath that to look like reinforcement. So here's the carnage so far, but it's starting to look like the Destroyerer Tank Hunter. Quick recap. So what we have here is the Lehman Russ tank without a turret, the Vindicator cannon carved down to fit the front, and the Lehman Russ barrel put in backwards. I think we got the profile pretty close here. If you look, I've even got the rib running down the top of the barrel, which is one defining characteristic of the Destroyerer Tank Hunter. Now it's not a perfect match to the Forge World kit, but I think everybody's going to know what it is once it hits the table. Alright, we're happy with it so far, so let's get it primed, start adding some other bits, and get ready to finish it up. I added the Storm Bolter to the top, not so much that I'm worried about the Storm Bolter doing anything, but I really hate when somebody rolls a weapons destroyed roll and I've only got one weapon on my tank. So I like to add one other weapon in on all my tanks, so that even if I do get a weapon destroyed, there's a 50% chance it ruins a weapon that I wasn't going to use anyway. Next, I've laid down my camouflage pattern. Now, because I'm using the barrel in backwards, it's kind of silly having a muzzle brake. So I wanted to put something else in the barrel to add a little color and to give it a little continuity. So I just rolled up a piece of paper, slid it inside the barrel, and now you can see a little color when you look down through the slits. Interesting tidbit here. Since that front piece off the Vindicator tank, which I now use as a barrel mount, was so heavy, being metal, and the way the tank tracks are shaped on this tank, it likes to stand on its nose. So when I was gluing that box on the back of the hull, I actually took some scrap metal pieces and stuck them inside the box to try and balance the tank out. So now it doesn't want to do a wheelie on its nose anymore. But in these pictures I'm just adding in some detail. So a little dry brushing, bring up some details, highlight it here and there, put the signature red stripe on the front, and we're ready to put it on the table. And there you go, guys. You've got your own convertible Thunderer Siege Tank / Destroyer Tank Hunter. Hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment below. If you have your own conversions, we'd love to see some pictures on the Facebook page. For now, this is Chad signing off. Thanks from all of us at 40K Amateur Hour.